Hello everyone! Welcome back to Drawn by Annie channel. This is me, Annie, and I will be drawing for you today. Grab your tea, coffee and snacks and let's dive into today's video. So, how have you been doing these days? What is good? What is bad? What's new with you? As for me, I've been having fun with my OCs recently a lot, so today's project is also about one of them. I've been exploring some comic styles recently a lot, and I've been also checking out some of the older animation movies that I watched before that inspired me to draw previously. For example, the Spider-Man movie Across the Spider-Verse. It was so cool and so stylish. I watched it in the cinema and it was super cool. Like immediately after watching it, I'm like, gosh, that looks so stylish and I want to do something in this style, like colorful and full of action and stuff, you know. I decided to go back to these types of styles and mangas and comics and everything like that. I kind of collected like a small mood board for myself from Spider-Verse, some shots. Then there's also the Cyberpunk Edge Runners, for example, as well. That also looks very stylish and contrast. From an older work of the same studio that did the Cyberpunk Edge Runners, they did a Gurren Lagann anime that was also super cool and very much popular back in the days. So if you liked Cyberpunk Edge Runners, you might look into that if you want to look something different up. And it's also super epic anime as well, as much as I can remember it. But that was a very nice show for me to watch. So this also went to my mood board for the same reason. Another good example for the stylishness in manga and anime is Shaman King. They made recently a remaster of the anime with a little bit more accurate story plot that goes with the manga, like synchronized with manga, because the original one, Shaman King, it has like a bunch of filler episodes that came from animators that didn't know what to do next because the manga was too much behind by the plot, so they had to kind of improvise. Another fun fact, by the way, the same happened to Full Metal Alchemist. That's why they have two of the series out there. This also goes to my mood board because of how unique the characteristic style is about Full Metal Alchemist. And if you compare the older one and the newer one, they are not very much different, but you will see a lot of unique characters that fill the universe so well, and they are so very well developed that you could not like, I cannot find anything more detailed as Full Metal Alchemist, to be honest. Like, that's one of the best characters I've ever seen out there. But to be frank, I'm not watching too much animations. Like, I'm not like a big nerd about it. I just like, there are a lot of people out there who are watching way more shows than I do, but these are my favorites. For the more recent ones, I would also put another great example of animation that is Arcane. That also inspired me like a lot, and you might have seen like some of the fan art videos in my channel previously, and you can obviously tell who is my favorite character. Comment down below if you know who I'm talking about. But this also definitely goes to my mood board for this inspirational thing. So anyway, these are the great examples for me for art stylizations for the mangas and animations. Having them all in mind, I wanted to have like a bunch of drawings of my own characters in the similar styles. So you know how they are making like character introduction before actually making like story or like starting a plot? So they're like putting a character in full body, for example, and then some of the zoom outs or zoom ins to their details or some specific facial expressions. So that's exactly what I wanted to do with my own characters, because I have a bunch of them and they are all belonging into one universe, so might as well do like this cool art for each of them. And I also have a bunch of friends who do play the same games with me, the tabletop roleplay games, and recently we started like a campaign with my friends, me as player, not GM this time, but my friend is GMing this time. He's very good good with making like a suspense and enough bullying us so that we are not exterminated, but we kind of want more because of how great the storytelling is, how he puts the character and everything, and all the choices and drama and all of that. This all also inspired me to draw like a spreadsheet for the characters for me and for the other players as well. This here is my character for the Shadowrun universe that I'm playing currently. This was the very first one that I ever made, actually. I don't think I ever drew it in this channel, but if you ever heard about Shadowrun setting, it's kind of a combination of cyberpunk setting and fantasy. So it's like dystopian future where people have actually a magic and a technology, like a cyber implants, bio implants and everything like that. Then there's also these mega corporations that are ruling the world and capitalism and its finest and everything, But on the other hand, you also have like these classical fantasy races and magic, like, fireballs and stuff, and elves and dwarves and everything. And they even have like sub races that are coming from the classical races like elves and dwarves, but they're like dark elves or like, I don't know, high elves or like vampires and stuff like that, In Shadowrun, they're covering every fantasy and every sci-fi thing you could think of, and they're putting it into a role-play gaming system, so they're kind of balancing on the edge of being a fantasy / cyberpunk setting. So you can have everything. You can have an elf with, classical bow and rogue class and everything like that, or you can have like a giant troll with a cyber gun in his left arm and then a giant machete in his right, and then these characters are standing in the same street and trying to survive the same rules and same harsh world and everything. So yeah, that's very much exciting. And in this type of settings for the role-playing, it's very cool to see how contrast the world can be, especially if it's based on our real world, but like, some fantasy for the future and everything. Like, you can see how our current world could become the Shadowrun world so easily, minus the magic, but like this type of settings can really unite all types of people. Like, the only thing that has to be in common with them is that they like games or like role-play games, and literally you can bring a D&D player, the classical elf fantasy whatever thing, and then you can bring a cyber or like a space travel sci-fi fan, and you can bring them together into one world and they can play together. Like, they can be standing in the same street and they still get to be their favorite creature. And that's so amazing for me, like as a creative or like an artist. It's just so cool that you can actually mix up things that look unmixable at first, but then you can actually do it and see how cool the result is. Before starting Shadowrun, I never played any other roleplay game before, even though they say that D&D, which is Dungeons and Dragons, is the most popular one. People usually start out with roleplay gaming with this system, but my friend who was GMing back then, he told me that it's a horrible system to start out with. I started with Shadowrun, but I still wanted to play something fantasy-ish, so Shadowrun was a very good setting for me as a starter because I could do whatever I wanted, and I did an elven character. And since the system offers a lot of quirks and traits and like, you know, different skill sets and equipment and stuff, I wanted to make still like a fantasy character, but in a cyber world. So this cyber world is like unique because it has a magic system in it as well. But I didn't want to be the one throwing fireballs and stuff, but I wanted to be something that is destructible and or like scary. So I made a character that is an elf that likes to use two-handed axe. So she's like an elf but barbarian at the same time, which is usually not the case for the elves, because if you know any classical fantasy, elves are usually using bows and or they're rogues, or they are like these high elves or like light elves who are very pretty and they speak like super nobly and stuff like that, and they live in forests and they like nature and everything. But I wanted to make something mixed up, and I wanted to exaggerate something about the Shadowrun human world because they have like an elf, but this elf is actually a gangster and a part of the criminal world. And since our story takes place in Seattle, they have like a part of the city that is dedicated to the elves only, or like there's like an elven ghetto there, and that's where my character was born. So Mai is coming from a poorer background, and her family is like a part of the gangster called Ancients. So it's like a small group of elves who are super racist and who are taking care about elves only, and they don't like literally nobody else, like no humans, no dwarves, no nobody, only elves. But I wanted to make a character that has the potential to change, so I wanted her to be like on a more evil side, let's say. But I mean, in Shadowrun there's mostly the gray morals, so she cannot be called pure evil or like pure good. It's just how she is surviving in the harsh world and the setting that she has been born to. So I guess, yeah, it's kind of hard to judge her because we would never know how we would be able to survive in a harsh environment like that. So she is an elf who is born in a elven district, but is also a ghetto, and she's been hearing gunshots since she was born. So she learned to survive on the streets. Like, she's been through a lot of negativity and a lot of bullying and stuff like that. And then she joined the gangsters, the Ancients. She wanted to change the life for the elves for the best. It's a little bit the same topic like in Arcane League of Legends, where you can see how Piltover is like this noble part of the city and Zon is like a ghetto. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, like, you get me. There is always like a lighter part of the world and a darker part of the world, and since I'm myself not from like a very brighter part of the world, like I can't say that I've been raised in ghetto, but like quite close to that setting. But it's like a poorer part of my country and a lot of criminal happening there, but I managed to survive and become somebody like with decent moral, as I think of myself. But I wanted to make a character that would be somewhat similar to me, but like exaggerated. And also I wanted to explore how I could show how a character born from setting or like from the back of the world like this could become somebody with either decent morale, or like become somebody with a good reputation, or like become somebody that can actually affect the common folks with their actions and their work, even though she's working in the criminal part and she's probably doing like not the best things in the world, but in the end she brings this money to help out the ones that are even that are suffering even more than she is. So yeah, I like gray morals. I've been through so many kids shows that are polarized, and that's why it makes me feel boring, because there's always this good guy or a bad guy, and they're always in conflict because bad guy wants to be a bad guy because why not? Like, they usually don't give enough reasons for a bad guy to be a bad guy. So I'm more a fan of a gray morale where actually evil cannot be really judged, because there is consequence of why the character has become this way, and that's way more interesting than just like a bad guy being a bad guy for the sake of being bad and evil. You know, you get me? So now it's time for me to explore something more complex and see how the world actually can be not white and black, but all shades of the gray, you know? So yeah, to wrap it up, Mai is a character that is an elf that is coming from a ghetto background, that likes to use axe as her main weapon, and she's also like a magician that can use her magical powers to power up herself. Like, she's not the one that's casting some illusions or like fireballs or water balls, whatever. She is literally making something like super jumps or like power up herself so she can strike even harder, or like make her fists magical so she can fight off spirits that are actually magical creatures and normal weapons are going through them, something like that, you know? But at the same time, she's living in a world full of cyborgs and technology, and she still manages to survive without like much knowledge about that. And she's also part of criminal community and a gang that is living to protect their kind, let's say. And she's running in shadows, which means like working in the underworld to earn money to become somebody with good reputation and also take care about the dear ones to her. So I think that's a very interesting character to explore and to play, and I've been having a lot of fun with her. Anyway, this spread now looks a little artsy messy, but it still looks decent and I like how it looks like. And I hope you like it too. Please do comment what you think about it down below. And if you like my work, please subscribe to this channel and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.